Well, welcome back, Power Sisters. Oh my gosh, so exciting. Such a wonderful day today on this Redefining Her Success virtual summit with Dr. Anita M. Jackson and the executive team of Power Her Success Alliance. Oh gosh, today is it's such an amazing time to connect with these women, these 5 women today on day 4 on redefining her lifestyle. This is one of the days of 7 days talking with over 25 women, hearing from over 25 women on how you can best live your life and be empowered. We're hearing real conversations, some raw conversations with real people to help you establish and create real results to empower your life and redefine it on your terms. So I'm again back with you today, or this session, as your co-host, Michele Modellas, and I am here with Dr. Kimarie Machinga. And we are going to be talking about things about having a heart-centered approach to life, having some boundaries, tapping into really truly who you are, connecting with your body, with your brain. When we talk about redefining your lifestyle, it's all encompassing as far as I'm concerned. One of my taglines is Way of the Champion, and another one is Tapping into Vitality. And we get to tap into who we are and find that champion in who we are. And we do that by creating this healthy lifestyle, a lifestyle where you have no regrets. You have hard possible challenges that you're facing, but you're still able to get through them and do what matters most and become the woman of who you were designed and created to be. So without further ado, I want to introduce Dr. Kimarie Machinga. She is a motivational speaker. She's a corporate trainer. She works with women with a heart-centered approach in life purpose, in relationship, in health, and in career. So Dr. Kimarie, will just maybe expand a little bit more on the bio and the women that you serve, what you do for them.
What I love to do is empower them through tapping into the innate parts of who they are, their inner essence, their inner spark, right? They forget all that piece of them that is bigger than they are, that is bigger than their small self. So it's connecting to their soul. It's connecting to that so they come into this world as a problem solver. I see it
Yeah.
that.
I love
You
when you say inner essence. To me, just essence is it's a powerful word, but it's like a coming home kind of a feeling.
And I just got that through my body. I felt that everywhere when you just said it. It's so
Yeah.
true. It's like I like to look at it as the little girl, the little child inside,
Yeah.
but in a way, the playful, the expansive, the all possibilities, the one that we forget about when we start going on that hamster wheel.
Yeah. You just made a good point on the little girl. And even though we are powerful women and, everybody listening is a power sister, but we still connecting to that younger child and not ever losing track of that childlike behavior sometimes in our playfulness and being creative. um, that is so important because the hamster wheel, I mean, you can get stuck on this hamster wheel, and the first thing to go when you're on that is ourselves, because we're doing and doing and doing and going and going and going for everyone else except us. What would you say to a woman who said, I don't have time to play like a little girl, or I don't have time, I don't even know what my inner essence is? How would you start a conversation with her?
The first thing I would do is say, imagine if you had my little girl, if I asked you to watch my 3-year-old, you don't even know her yet, right?
Yeah.
But without a doubt, you would, if she made a mistake or if she was scared or if she needed your attention, what would you do? You'd give it to her, right? You would love her. You would let her know how beautiful and amazing she is, right? But what we tell ourselves is, you're not doing enough. Why did you do that? You're responsible for this, and all of those things. So it's connecting with that essence first before we can ever be playful. We have to connect with her. We have to pick her up and wipe her off from all the thoughts that she's been in this environment that we weren't even aware of, right? So
Yeah.
it's awareness of her. It's not blaming yourself. It's not beating yourself up more. It's not more work. It's investing. It's investing inward first, because we really can't truly love and give from a place of authenticity if we don't understand what it feels like within ourselves.
Right. Oh gosh, so many nuggets in what you just said about um we do tend to take care of others sometimes better than we take care of ourselves. And there's so many things that we can do to take care of ourselves that don't have to cost money. And you said it, being kind to ourselves and loving ourselves and appreciating ourselves. And I think that is what really helps us to reconnect and to know that we are amazing beings. I mean, women are just, I don't know. I'm so glad I was born a woman. And I'm so glad that I have gone through the transitions and the transformation that I've gone through and found strength in places that I never knew that I had strength, because I didn't, if you were to ask me, what is your essence? What is your purpose? I had nothing. I had nothing, because I was on that hamster wheel, and, a bearing broke out of the hamster wheel and the whole thing fell apart. And I was sitting there on the ground, so to speak, in this visual that I'm creating right now, thinking, what's the point in even trying to fix anything to move forward? So
I,
talk to the woman who is on that hamster wheel feeling completely defeated. How,
we fall
what can she do?
Well, we fall into a state of perfectionism. What I like to say is, because we really do start holding a higher standard for ourselves. We don't celebrate ourselves before, we have all these goals. And then as soon as we get close, we move the target out, and we don't even take the time to celebrate our accomplishments. It's do. And then we wonder why we feel resentful. And that is where we end up turning into the angry giver, because we're a giving, loving person, but we're thinking either or. It's
Mm.
either them or me. It's black or white. It's more is better. And it's a lack mindset. So the first thing we need to do is, where are we? Take a breath, take a deep diaphragmatic breath, with which most people don't even, if I could just teach breathing alone.
Okay, well, let's park there for a second, because someone might not know what a diaphragmatic breath is. And first of all, why? Why? I'm going to ask you a series of questions. So why is it beneficial to do this diaphragmatic breath? And then we'll see what it is.
Okay, diaphragmatic breath, number one, before anything else, will get you out of the incessant thinking, which happens from being in the future or in the past. Gets you right in that present moment. And you know who was in that present moment? That inner child and that divine spark and your guidance, right? So we want to get back. We want to get into our guidance system versus coming from fear of what has never happened, isn't happening, right? That fear of lack.
Except for
Right?
right there, right?
Yeah, so it stops that. It's a pattern interrupt.
Pattern interrupt. Okay. So that's a good little lay person's term. So how would one do this diaphragmatic breathing practice?
Well, what I would do is simple. And in this any situation, you can do it. You can either do it right sitting there, or just go to the bathroom for a moment. Put your hands on your belly to start with. Just close your eyes, put your feet on the floor. As you inhale, imagine filling your belly up with a balloon, right? So we want to take a big breath, hold it for a moment. And then as you exhale, you want to just pull your belly into your spine. As you're exhaling, if you want to relieve stress, you can even add an like a
Yeah, a sigh or a
Mm. All right. And so now we're activating positive hormones in our brain. We're getting from the reptilian brain, which is the stress response, where cortisol and
Yep.
adrenaline come in and flood us, get us out of our frontal cortex, which is where problem solving happens. We get into our reptilian brain, and we're not able to do anything. But when we can just flood it, our body with oxygen, we get the oxytocin flowing back again.
Yes, perfect. That's a great explanation of that. And so critical when we are in that like panic situation. The
Yes.
most important thing is to take control of what we can take control of. So that is a great tip to do that breathing. And it's so simple. And one thing to remember, I'm glad that you stated when you do take that inhale, that your belly expands, not contracts in. Because a lot of times when we're in that fight or flight, we're so tense and it's from here up that we take a breath. We don't go for the breathing down low, and how that can change. Let's park on the cortisol for a second, because it's making me think about how so many women, we're going way a little bit off topic of anything that we've talked about, you and I have discussed before, but with cortisol increase, that messes up our whole metabolism.
Absolutely.
And if a woman is experiencing the belly fat or just feeling sluggish, she can it's probably safe to say that the cortisol level is out of balance. What are some benefits, or what are some things that a woman can do to reduce the cortisol level production? Like the sleep and, all the feel good things. So things that women can do just to help balance out their bodies and their adrenals.
Well, again, starting with balancing the stress is we want to get present, right? We want to
Yeah.
get into the present moment. We want to do the breathing again, a diaphragmatic breathing. While we're doing that breathing, I usually take 3 to 5 breaths
Mm.
and I ground myself. I imagine, because number one, most of it is just getting present and intentional, because we're powerhouses, right?
Yeah.
We just in the present moment and not somewhere else. So it's getting present and then grounding yourself. And when I ground myself, I close my eyes in those breaths and I imagine roots growing from the bottom of
Oh,
my feet.
beautiful.
I imagine the plugging in back into my essence. So I imagine that the reason why that this disruption is happening is because I've disconnected, I've unplugged from my center, from my essence, from my little girl, from my guidance. And
Yeah.
that's where I've gotten, so it's getting back plugged in, imagining being a willow tree, right? A willow tree, when we're plugged in and rooted into the earth, and there's winds and gusts, we just kind of dance with it. We're not rigid. We're just flowy. We are
Yeah.
able to handle it because we're grounded. So it's getting back, breathing and grounding is the start to moving in a positive direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it makes me want to, I'm focusing on my breathing now. Like I am doing more shallow breaths. And now a lot of times, we live in that
Oh,
state during
absolutely.
the
And
day.
the cortisol and adrenaline is a perfect thing to do when you're running from a bear, but we've turned that into a lifestyle, and that's the
Right.
hamster wheel right there. We have to learn to get back, because when we're depleted, back to the cortisol, when we're depleted, we are literally depleted of the positive hormones, the serotonin, dopamine,
Right.
oxytocin.
The feel
And
good,
then
happy chemicals.
yeah, but then we think there's something wrong and we need to be medicated for it, or get self medicate because our brain is not producing it. So we start looking for that thing.
Yeah.
And that's another
Or the
hamster.
caffeine, to try to get the
Self medicate.
afternoon pick me up, and yeah, which
Self,
then has, on its own the
well, it
negative.
has a hormonal effect. All of those have negative side effects. So I'm not saying don't ever eat anything that is sugary or overindulgent. Don't ever have drinks. I'm saying when it becomes a coping mechanism, then it starts making its decisions for you. And the negative side effects are that mostly hormonal imbalance, especially with women.
Yeah.
And so then we go into that cycle of hormonal imbalance. We start gaining weight. We start having hot flashes, not sleeping well, and our moods are affected. So
Moods, yeah.
the fuel we put in our body, and whether we're eating it or we're telling ourselves or we're sitting on this belief system, has everything to do with how we react to our,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And then in turn the relationships, and then everything about the lifestyle, whether what you're doing in your career, whether you're an entrepreneur or in the corporate setting, and how you show up in life. Yeah, we were talking earlier just before the call that with perfectionism, so many women, are in this state of perfectionism under the guise of, well, no, it's just my standard of ethics or my standard of integrity and how I want things. But what would you tell a woman how to determine if it's one or the other, where it's crossed the line into the perfectionism?
So between perfectionism and excellence, right? We want to
Right.
be the best, we want excellence. Like, first thing is that we set a standard so high, so differently than we would for anyone else. And we often don't celebrate our goals before and feeling accomplished before going on to that next goal. It's like setting the proverbial carrot in front of us and then keep moving it out, keep moving that target out so we never reach it. And what happens is we just get exhausted and depleted and feel powerless. We start losing our confidence and start believing that there's something wrong with us.
Yeah.
And so we try harder and we do more. And then we start this belief, we're under this belief, when in fact, that little girl's whole and perfect. We just keep telling her something else. We would never do that to anyone else. If that's why I like using her, because when we get that visual, it's like, would you ever say that to her? You have to break that pattern
Yeah.
of those thoughts and catch that. And I don't want to make it sound like a big job, because it's really not. It's a beautiful, beautiful, loving experience when you really connect with her essence and you really look into her eyes and see the damage, that can be done. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can use so much less time and energy and be so much more effective just by investing our time and energy differently. That is the difference.
Yeah,
So
and even with the analogy of talking to the younger self, but even I look at when I'm working with my clients, I always say, would you talk to your best friend? Would you say the things to your best friend that you think or entertain, that, the self-talk that you're entertaining about, oh gosh, all the negative things? Would you have a conversation with your best friend and say all of those things to her or him? And I'm pretty positive, I would say 99.9% of every woman would say, heck no, I would not. I mean, obviously there's, iron sharpening iron, and we get to help each other grow and empower each other, but usually that's not the conversations of what I'm referring to. And yeah, that perfectionism, that is such a thief. It is the thief of so much in our life, and it creates a stuckness, don't you think?
absolutely. And the clarity, you lose confidence. And once you're there, that's where you get really on that hamster wheel. And you just think, oh, if I just do more, if I just do this one more thing, and you're still in that, you're in a whole different brain. You're in the reptilian brain. If we look at it that way, if we're in the reptilian brain, there is no new possibilities coming in, because that's only for crisis and survival. We can't even create possibilities there. So we have to step back and get into that present moment where we can flood our body with the hormones, the positive hormones that get us back into our frontal cortex. And
So far it's ironic that it's a running theme of taking just a few minutes to stop for ourselves,
yeah,
to put ourselves first for just a few moments, and then get back on track.
mhm.
That every speaker that I've interviewed has so far has mentioned that, and it's so true. In the clients that you work with and the audiences that you speak to, why is it that you think, or have you heard from any of your clients, on a running theme, why is it that we get so stuck on this perfectionism. I mean, yeah, some of it can be from childhood stuff coming up, but a lot of times it's self-imposed. I would venture to say.
Well, it is an underlying belief that we fall into as humans. We fall into an underlying belief. It's kind of like a computer virus running in the background, and it's when we get so in fear, right? When we get in fear, we just shift into this lack mindset.
Yeah.
As human beings, I just want to say, I don't want to make it sound like we're doing something wrong. We're being human. In the human experience, I do believe that there is the polarity and there's the opportunity for us to step into that present moment. So it's knowing that we all do it, but with high functioning overachievers, high functioning women that we do it. We're really incessant about it. We trip over it more. The more what my Fabian Fredrickson says, the more the front you have, the more the back, the more gifts and talents for problem solving, for being a person that's a game changer and a leader and a visionary. When we have all of those gifts and talents and we're able to help people in this way, the backside of it is we have a bigger struggle with that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So we fall into that imposter, and it's a fear. That's all it is the fear of not being enough. We all have this, but we fall into it more because we're the ones that others look up to a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure you can relate to that
Yeah.
yourself.
Absolutely. In fact, I have something on one of my websites, and that's part of the poem that Marianne Williamson says is some of the wording is, "Who am I not to be?" Or no, "Who am I to ask myself?" Who something to this effect. To be, who am I to be talented, fabulous, amazing, all of these things. In fact, who are you not to be? I mean, we get to be, and we have it within us. So tapping back into that essence of greatness.
Absolutely. Our purpose is bigger than us. And we think the opposite. We think, oh, if I, I will be rejected. If I show this part, if I show this thing that I'm so fired up and inspired about, but I'm terrified. Like, that is the perfect place to be. And what I like to teach is overcoming that, because your purpose is ready to just be in full expression, to allow yourself to actually be elated in helping rise all of us. And we all have a purpose. And I think the biggest reason why we fall into perfectionism too is because we try to suppress. We have that fear. And the more we try to push it down, the more it wants to come out.
Because most of the time I've heard so many people say, gosh, when I just really kind of set my got my head down to my desk, and I started to work out whatever the project was, it wasn't as bad as I was making it up to be. It was, it was this big giant in my head, and then it really wasn't. And then when you're taking the time to celebrate yourself, then you're building that confidence, and it kind of helps to get a little bit easier. We're honoring ourselves, and you talk about women being in their feminine power, and whether it's a corporate setting or in their family situation, how can women lean into, usually the word feminine and power don't go hand in hand, but they really do if we are
Absolutely.
being true to ourselves. So what would you suggest to a woman to be able to lean into that feminine power more so that she can truly be all she's called to be?
Well, first of all, I would say it's claiming your power, right? When we're in a masculine, there is the balance of feminine and masculine, and in the corporate setting,
Yeah.
we do tend to fall into masculine when we're talking about negotiating and being assertive and those kind of characteristics. Yes, of course we need to borrow that for
Right.
sure. But where we really shine is in our innate ability to be what we were born to be, which is in the collaborative, the intuitive. So that is where, again, I love to use the breathing and use the connection with the little girl to get back into the knowing. So imagine you have this fear, but you just grab her hand, because we are strong women. We know we are. But we're fighting against the current for too much of our energy. So it's investing more of getting into the softer, getting into the playful, getting into the intuitive, and feeding those things so that we can get nourished, because that also nourishes us, because that's who we are. So when we go home, by the time we've used all this energy being frustrated in this, it's like carrying a man on our shoulders almost. It's heavy. And then we go home and we bring this heaviness and we stay in this male role, and it doesn't give our partner the opportunity to have that role, right? It's already, so there's the two of us. And if we want polarity, one of us has to be in the feminine and one of us has to be in the masculine.
Yeah.
So they can default into being needy or being complaining, and we can get into this really yucky unbalance that isn't fun for anybody. So it's getting back into the softness, the compassion, the being inquisitive, the being lighthearted. The only way to do that is by feeding that side of ourselves, by nourishing that side of ourselves.
I love that word nourish too. It's very, very nourishing.
Nourishing. I was just going to say the same thing.
It is nourishing and essence. Those are two, like, I don't know, there's a lot of power in those two words. They're verbs. So what would you suggest as tangible things? Because what I like for women to be able to take, and there's been a lot of nuggets here, if ladies in viewing audience, as you're taking notes, grab some of these nuggets and implement one or two today. And she's already given, Dr. Kimarie has given some things that you can tangibly do already that you can create some instant results. But what would, Dr. Kimarie, what would you suggest as, one or two tangible things that these power sisters can do to create positive results, to create more vitality in their life, and their lifestyle can ultimately be redefined?
Well,
you kind of talked about, what was it, celebrating, but what are some other things other than saying, okay, great job, because that's us. And if we're not in our confidentness, we might not say that, we might forget that. But what are like some tangible things that I could do today?
I like to look at it as making deposits in your account. I like to look at it as making deposits in your checking account first thing in the morning. So before you even get out of bed or before you even leave the house, you've already have 4 or 5 deposits, so that if there becomes something that comes at you and it feels like a withdrawal, you already have a full bank account. Conversely, if your bank account is empty and you haven't set that platform for yourself, you're going to be depleted immediately and shift into a panic. Okay. So I like to start by doing gratitude. Just in the morning, I write 10 things that I'm grateful for, and I immerse myself in that energy. I have a picture across my bed of me and my grandson, like just in this goofy, excited moment. So I look up first thing and that's what I see. And then it's easy to get into gratitude, no matter what kind of a mood I'm in. I have things around me to look at.
So that's important right there, is to surround yourself with visual, positive reminders.
Yes. And then
our subconscious sees way more than what we think our eyes see directly.
It definitely supports this, right? And then 3 wins. And these wins are things that you did well, that could be little things so that you might minimize typically, right? Things like I spoke up when instead of just biting my tongue. I asked questions when I thought I would be embarrassed doing so. Those are big wins. Those are things that shift you. And if we build upon those, we build our confidence. We have that sense of accomplishment. We've started the day already feeling powerful. And then
Nice.
I always do a writing. I do automatic writing in the morning. And I just imagine that my little girl is just telling me about her day. She's just telling me, and I just dump it out. I dump out the fears. I talk about dreams. I do all of that in a matter of 10 minutes, those three things.
Okay. That's
And
great. Go ahead.
yeah, those three things set the platform for the day. Now you have big deposits, and they may sound so simple and you may want to discount them, but the difference between the days with or without is so impactful. It's so different.
Well, and that's beautiful that you can actually accomplish that in less than, in 10 minutes or less. Now, you could stay for an hour if you wanted, if you had the time. Obviously, that's, could be beneficial as well. But in our fast-paced world, even if we're not on the hamster wheel, that 10 minutes of practicing the gratitude and, having your visual space, supporting the life that you want. And then what was the third thing that your three wins? That's so easy. So anyone listening today can actually go create that. Once they get off of this interview, they can go create that. You can if you don't have a journal, you can grab a little notepad and call that your gratitude journal. And just, I do the same thing when I am feeling overwhelmed or even like, okay, I don't know where to start on something when there's like too many ideas and I need to focus and narrow down. I completely change my state. I'll physically change my location, and I'll sit and I'll just start writing things that I'm grateful for. And it might just be, okay, we have rain today. I'm glad that I get to be inside, or my dog, is an inside dog, little, whatever it is,
Those are the things that are even more powerful because that makes you more present. Otherwise, if we keep reciting the same things over and over again, we're not as present. When we're picking those little things like, wow, I'm so glad I missed that car from coming so close to me. Oh, wow, I'm glad that rain didn't get on my whatever, right?
right.
You are being so much in gratitude.
Yeah.
Like you're not like the shoulds. Like we're getting into, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Right?
I try. Yep. I as much as I can, I remove the shoulds. And yeah. You might have brought a good point, which is kind of like something that you don't really have to necessarily plan to do, but be aware. And that is like when you are driving, like, oh, I'm grateful. Yay, I got the green light, or yay, I'm grateful for this parking spot close by. And that's a good reminder that is being present. And that's something that women can be aware of too. Like, oh, hey, yeah, yay, me, I'm present right now.
Absolutely. I learned that the hard way. I got hit by a Hummer and shattered my forearm and learned the one tool of there's a red light. There is a blue car there, and just get present and get really in gratitude. That's how I was able to get back into the car. So that I use as a tool with clients just to, why is there traffic? Well, you don't know if you're being stopped from being in an accident, like just really getting back in divine timing.
Yeah, I know that happens to me a lot too. If I'm rushing to get somewhere, something comes up and then I'm delayed getting out of the house like 2 or 3 minutes. And then if I'll come up on something, it's like, that's exactly why I was spared for something. So, so many good things, great takeaways. Ladies, I know you've probably been writing notes fast and furious all day long. I've had the benefit to actually have some conversations with her and glean from her expertise and her experience and when she works with women. So I just encourage you, if you want to get more from Dr. Kimarie and all of the other speakers that we've been listening to so far, and that you still have, a few more days, because remember, there's going to be 25 speakers over this 7-day summit. Go ahead and upgrade to that VIP level and you'll have access to all of the speakers' additional information. We're going to throw a link down below, and that's where you can go ahead and upgrade and up level your participation here, and rewatch these. Rewatch again and take more notes. Engage in the comments. If you want a follow-up question to something that has been talked about, write it in the comments and we'll get back to you. But Dr. Kimarie, thank you so much for all of your wisdom and sharing from your experiences. It's been a great time sharing with you. We could probably talk for hours and go so much deeper because what you have to give and what you have to share is so beneficial for every person, not just women, but every person to be able to create that lifestyle that's going to just empower them in a greater way with what they already have instinctively. And I think one of the things that I'm taking away from today is just connecting to that essence of who we truly are. And then we get to expand on that as much as we want.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like the willow tree, because those roots, they go way down. They suck water from miles away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And thank you to the rest of you who have been listening today. And we just encourage you to continue your participation in the group here. And we look forward to connecting further with you. Have a wonderful day, all.